Welcome to The Way Home with Laura Smith, the show that brings you wonderful guests, helpful advice, and uplifting stories. The Way Home. Live inspired. Here's your host, Laura Smith.
Well, something I'm not very good at all are financial matters and minding my investments and keeping track of finances in general. Never have been. But thank goodness for that. There are those that are wonderful at it. Brent Suriano is a director of private wealth at Synovus Bank, and he has been so for 20 years. So maybe he can help explain and really inform us on the volatile market that we've been noticing over this past year, and then kind of give us a pulse on where we're at midway through the year. Brent, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. Absolutely. Yeah, when I look at 2025, I mean, listen, the recent volatility really has to play around uncertainty, and the equity markets, thrive on certainty. And when you look at the landscape of 2025, I really look at it in three components that have kind of created some of the fluctuations in the market. Number one, when you look back in February for Liberation Day, when Trump announced his tariff plan, and although tariffs are not new in our, economic history, I think the size of the tariffs that, the president had thrown out there kind of shocked the markets a little bit. And it kind of created a little bit of worry for people on, are goods going to be expensive? And what are any reciprocal tariffs going to look like? And I think that's why we saw some of the market volatility in the first quarter. Now, when you look at kind of where we are even today, with some countries coming to the table, with making some trade deals, we've kind of gained some of that market back pre-Liberation Day, but that kind of created some uncertainty. The second factor is really looking at interest rate environment, and, coming into 2025, there were some talks that, the Fed was going to look at, lowering interest rates by 5 or 6 times. And that's kind of stepped back a little bit to maybe only 2 rate decreases, if any, this year, which means we might be in an environment where higher interest rates are for longer. And then, of course, consumers and businesses want to know what that impact's going to be. So again, creating another level of uncertainty. And then when you couple that with the nation's debt headed towards $36 trillion, there's some uncertainty or concern whether the U.S. can handle that debt load at a higher interest rate environment. And then the final component that led to some of the uncertainty is really around the Trump administration's tax and budget proposal, known as the Big Beautiful Bill. Again, that's gone through House, that's Senate now. We're going to kind of make some changes. I think the administration is looking for a July 4th passing date. But again, if that doesn't go through, there's kind of uncertainty of what tax environment looks like for the consumer in 2026. So you kind of add those three things in, it kind of has created the uncertainty of the first 6 months of this year. And I would say, as we're looking on the back half of this year, if we get some tailwinds on either one of those three components, where we have more countries come to the table, more tariff deals being struck, especially with the European Union and China, I think we'll see some headwinds there, some tailwinds there. If the administration's tax and budget proposal goes through at the date in July, that'll ease some of the tax uncertainty for 2026. And if we can kind of get a better understanding of the Federal Reserve's mindset on where they see the economy and the interest rate environment, any one of those or a combination or all three will give us some tailwind as we look into the second half of 2026.
Okay. And I know that, a lot of us can be knee jerk, and when these things happen and, our first reaction is to want to make a change to our portfolio and, panic a little bit maybe, or I'm sure there is a good way to go about that. And you have some nice strategies for staying the course and not getting off track. What are some of the things that you tell your customers?
Well, we have to stay disciplined, right? And how do we stay disciplined? We can't stay disciplined unless we have actually put together and defined and understand what our near-term, intermediate, and long-term goals are. For example, whether that's, looking for a certain lifestyle later on, a certain amount of income, trying to provide for education for children or leaving a legacy to children, passing assets on to charity. You got to kind of pull things back to establishing a financial plan for one, because you can't stay disciplined to anything that unfolds in an economic environment as you're receiving real-time data without going back to what I'll call a North Star, that financial plan. So once you've kind of defined that goal, it really helps you kind of work with the team and deploy some financial strategies to stay on track and not kind of get caught up in the day-to-day market cycles and kind of going on the longer-term timeline. And I always like to make a little quip around, remember, like in most cases, nobody gets injured on a roller coaster unless you jump off midway.
That's a good analogy. And you sound like, obviously, someone who would be able to really help guide someone What is the best way to find a wealth management professional if someone's in the market for one like yourself right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would really take a look internally first, you and your family, and kind of what you're looking for from a level of service and expertise in investment management or wealth planning philosophies. You have to kind of define the team that you want in place to help execute on what's most important to you and your family. And then from there, it's always best to ask family members, ask friends, ask colleagues on who they have worked with in the past, or what if they've had family members that had a great team of experts around them and what that looked like. And then from there, do your due diligence and talk to a multitude of firms, a multitude of other advisors, get to understand what their philosophies are, their expertise, their level of service, and do they have all the capabilities you kind of in-house or a part of their repertoire to help be efficient and execute on what those goals are. So you really got to look from within, ask for advice, and then kind of interview and try to find the right fit for you.
Do some people go out of town? I mean, if you, for example, you're in the Florida division at Synovus Bank. Do some people, live in Indiana but yet get a financial advisor in Florida? Does it matter where they are? At
the end of the day, I wouldn't say geography matters as long as that's not an issue for you individually. A lot of individuals like the in-person interaction with working with the broader wealth team because they're all around the table and you can talk to the expertise that are there and kind of create that personal connection. Some folks, still have their, advisor firms, especially here in Florida, out of a different state, New York or whatever. It really kind of just depends on what you expect in the team that's working with you and your family. And if being in person is important to you, I would obviously recommend working with someone that is local so you've got that face-to-face contact.
Well, I really appreciate your help today because I think it applies to just about anyone, no matter where they are. What's a good website we could go to get more of the same type of information that you've given us today?
Absolutely, yeah. If you go to synovus.com, you get to learn more about our financial institution, our bank, all the services that we offer, from banking to lending strategies, commercial wholesale banking, obviously wealth services, investment management, and estate planning. So synovus.com, it's right there at your fingertips.
Yeah, and Synovus is spelled Synovus. So Brent Suriano, thank you so much, Director of Private Wealth at Synovus Bank. We appreciate all you told us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
You're listening to The Way Home with Laura Smith. Once again, here's Laura.
Well, I have a dog. Actually, we have two dogs. And of course, we have our mail delivered every day. Thankfully, my mailbox is outside and that's where the mail goes. But for a lot of people, there are different scenarios whereby their dogs either get loose or the postal worker goes up to the house and there's a dog nearby. Lots of things can happen. And it's not always that dogs are man's best friend. In the case of the United States Postal Service, not a laughing matter. I'm not laughing at that, but just the mere thought of what these wonderful workers have to go through sometimes with dogs, and being attacked by them is nothing short of a bit scary. Today, I have Elizabeth Adams. She is the United States Postal Service Occupational Safety and Health Safety Awareness Specialist. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
I feel so terrible when I read the statistics. How many dog bites in 2024? Is it beyond 6,000?
It is. It's over 6,000, 6,088 we had in 2024. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, first of all, I can't imagine having the kind of courage to go out every single day, 6 days a week, and be wondering, well, am I going to get bit by a dog today? How has this, I'm surprised that in this day and age, there's not, this has not all been taken care of, but I guess it's impossible to do. What is it still a big problem? Has it gotten any better over the past decades or no?
Unfortunately, it has not. And that total from 2024 averages out to about 16 per day. And we have seen it increase over the past 3 years. So that's why we are really looking forward to our customers and our collaborative effort to minimize that risk, because it is a real problem. It's a real and ongoing safety issue for our mail carriers out there.
Is it mostly people who just may have dogs and just don't have them secured in their home or whatever, let them walk outside? And then when by chance somebody comes by the property, that they're already loose. I mean, I would imagine that there are laws around this that would prevent people from being so lackadaisical. So why aren't more people taking care of this problem?
I think it could be twofold as well, because we know that last year, we added over 1 million delivery points. And so the population's increasing. We're delivering more and to more people, and dog ownership is also increasing. So that exposure is just increasing year after year. And so that's potentially also contributing to the problem. But the theme this year is secure your dog, keep deliveries on track. And the main concern is just secure your dog. Make sure your dog is away from where the carrier is delivering mail. Like in your case, at the end of the drive, or wherever, or right at the door. Sometimes we will come and have the package right at the door as well.
See, that's the thing, because my postal worker is in a truck. And he drives by the standing mailboxes and doesn't get out of the truck, just puts them there. But I guess it's not the same. In some communities, postal workers are getting out of their trucks and walking to particular houses. Is that how it is?
Yes, and that's actually how it is in my neighborhood as well. My postal worker parks and then walks through the neighborhood, delivering from door to door. Okay,
so in addition to obviously securing the dog so that, at that particular time of the day, what are some other steps we can take as dog owners to make your postal workers safer?
Definitely. So that another best way is to recognize and promote that responsible pet ownership. At the end of the day, teach your dog appropriate behaviors, those commands, socialize your dog. And you mentioned, don't allow your dog to roam freely. Make sure your dog is secure. If the carrier does come to your door, that security can be in a separate room in a secure area, even because there could be that false sense of security if you have your screen door shut. So we've seen some dogs push through screen doors. We've actually even seen them jump through windows. So as summer's coming and we're enjoying the outside, as summer's coming and we're enjoying the outside, make sure that your door is secured when you're coming in and out, or if you have family visiting or children, make sure that door is shut.
So is it true that there is some new technology that is trying to help mitigate the dog bites and the postal worker? What is that technology?
So for sure. So we have actually customer technology and our carrier technology. So I'll talk about the carrier technology first. We have our mobile delivery devices that you may see a carrier with a handheld scanner. That actually provides that customer delivery confirmation, but it also has a feature to indicate the presence of a dog at an address. So as our carrier is approaching the property, it also alerts them that there is a dog there. And we also, for the customer piece, we have USPS informed delivery. And that is a service that alerts customers to mail and packages, coming to their homes. So that gives time to allow to plan for the carrier's arrival so that they can secure their dog.
Oh, that's really good news. I'm sure that's going to be helpful for sure. And just obviously, making people aware of that. I'm so glad that you're able to tell us about that, because I wouldn't have known. So people are able to maybe think faster. But for some of the places where they're not, is the U.S. Postal Service, are they taking other measures to help protect their own workers?
So we do provide the training. We have carrier training that we provide on steps that they can follow, and really give them ways to just always try to prevent the situation from escalating. So we have, in our employee training, one tip is if a dog is about to attack, try placing something between them and the dog, such as their mail satchel. And we do use the dog repellent if necessary.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's good to know as well that they have some protection measures. I'm grateful to hear about this. What is a good website people can go to? They want to hear the latest of what's going on in the area of dog bites and postal workers. Do you have an information site?
We do. It's USPS.com/dog bite awareness.
Well, that's easy enough. USPS.com/dog bite awareness. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Adams, for helping us today and really having it be top of mind for people so that hopefully next year when the numbers come out, it'll be a whole heck of a lot less and one day nothing at all. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Laura. We appreciate you and your customers. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Smith, and here's a minute of purpose, improving your life 60 seconds at a time. You've heard about being in the zone. Another term is a flow state. Have you heard of that? Well, this is where you become so engrossed in something that it becomes almost effortless. Athletes know how it feels, and so do many artists. So how can you tap into your own flow state and make the harder tasks in life easier? Well, first, look at that chore as a challenge. Get yourself fixed on conquering it. Set a goal as to what you intend to do by the end of your session. Next, remove distractions. Put the phone in another room, ignore emails or TV, and dedicate yourself to what's in front of you. And then finally, give yourself time. Research shows that 15 minutes of undivided attention is what's needed to trigger the flow state. As you focus on the task at hand, you'll tap greater resources of creativity and problem solving. So yes, you can create the conditions to easily handle tough tasks. Just activate your flow state. This has been your Minute of Purpose. Find more at nowwithpurpose.com.
You're listening to The Way Home with Laura Smith. Once again, here's Laura.
Well, as healthcare costs continue to rise for all of us, consumers are taking on more of the financial burden for their health and wellness care, which is not covered by insurance. Bobbi Rebell is here today. She's a certified financial professional and author, and she's joining us to discuss what consumers should consider when it comes to flexible financing options for their health and wellness. Welcome to the program, Bobbi. This is a really important topic. I know it touches just about everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, this is a topic that touches just about everybody because we all want to be healthy and we also want to have our financial health along with it.
Absolutely. And how that is impacted together. How are continued rising health and wellness costs impacting us now? I mean, I can say from my own personal experience, but I want you to tell me from your vantage point.
Well, I think you and I can both agree, both from our personal experiences and from what we hear from our friends, our family, your listeners, clients, and so on, that healthcare is a big concern. In fact, 53% of Americans actually have delayed medical treatments due to the out-of-pocket costs. That's actually a Synchrony statistic. So it's something where it's impacting our decision making and really can have, I don't mean to make a pun here, but it can really cost us our health if we don't have the resources or don't think we have the resources to pay for the medical treatments that we need.
You are absolutely right. I was talking with a dear friend the other day, and he said, no way, no how am I going to go back to the emergency room for anything. I don't care what's going on with me because I just can't afford it. And I thought that is absolutely frightening that we have to think like that. Tell us about Synchrony. You just mentioned them and their new fair financing principles.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm very excited about this. The Synchrony Care Credit Fair Financing Principles is a tremendous resource for consumers because it really focuses on transparency and clarity when it comes to healthcare costs. So for example, the first thing everyone should do, your friend probably didn't even know what things would cost if he were to go to get the healthcare that he needed. You want to know what things cost. So on the website, one of my favorite things is that they have a procedure calculator and you can go in there. I've done it myself. You put in, there's about 700 different procedures. You have medical, dental, they even have veterinary care and so on. And it's an easy drop down menu. You've got categories and everything. You put in your zip code. So it's specific to your area because we do know that costs can vary around the country and it will give you an estimate. For example, I put in for a friend of mine the other day, what would LASIK cost? You can put that in there and it'll give you the approximate cost. So then when you go to talk to your provider, you have an idea of what the number is going to be, and you can at least start thinking about it from there. So you don't just put off decisions as your friend did.
Absolutely. And then is there a way on this app or with Synchrony to find out like what your insurance is going to kick in as opposed to what you're going to have to pay out of pocket? Does it have that kind of delineation in it?
Well, what it's going to tell you is what the estimated cost of the procedure is. And that's the starting patch. So the starting point. So then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your insurance company. You're going to ask them what they're going to pay. You can go to your doctor. It's pretty simple. Ask them. They can usually do it for you. If not, you can get, the right medical codes and ask them in advance. And you may want to do that because sometimes certain procedures do need advance approval. So you want to make sure you're ahead of the game in terms of that. So you figure out what insurance will pay. And then you want to look at your own personal resources. Do I have the money, for example, in the bank for this? Is this something that I can afford? Do I want to use my flexible spending account for it? That's use it or lose it money. So that's money that you may want to tap into. Also, you may have a health savings account. That's money that you could potentially use to pay for it. But then you also want to look at other options like flexible financing. And that's why I love this Synchrony Care Credit website, the Fair Financing Principles, because it really, really explains so clearly how this works. And I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to understand how, for example, deferred interest works. Because as a financial wellness educator, one of my frustrations is when people misunderstand how something works, and then they make decisions that they would not have made had they fully understood how, for example, deferred interest works.
I love that. And you said Care Credit. Yeah. So is this credit card Care Credit, or how is this used?
Yes, exactly. So Care Credit is a credit card for health and wellness needs. So it can cover everything from, you might think of your medical needs and your dental needs. I mentioned veterinary needs, but what's great about Care Credit is it also can be used, and the flexible financing can also be used for things that you may not think of, but really make a lot of sense when it comes to your health and wellness, like your sleep. So for example, if you're going to go out and buy a bed at Sleep Number, you can use your Care Credit card there. If you are concerned about your feet. I had plantar fasciitis. I don't know if you know what that is. It's really painful. Yes. So now I have those arches. They are expensive. And, your insurance doesn't cover that much of it. But let me tell you, that is something that affects not only your feet, but your whole back. You need to when you need it, you need it. People understand what I'm saying. So Good Feet store is something that's in there. The Mayo Clinic is in there. So it's really a very versatile option and a wonderful resource for people.
Oh, this is just great information. Is there a website, something easy to remember where my listeners can go to find out more about the Fair Financing Principles at Synchrony and the Care Credit and Care Credit Card? Where can we go?
You go to carecredit.com/FFP. That stands for Fair Financing Principles. All the information is there, including how deferred interest works, how to apply, and also other financing options. And it even has, how your bill will work and some really great, easy to watch videos that explain everything. It's a great resource.
Oh, it absolutely is. Say it one more time, the site to go to.
carecredit.com/FFP, as in Fair Financing Principles.
carecredit.com/FFP. Wonderful stuff here. Bobbi Rebell, thank you so much. And what a super information. And thank you for bringing it to us in a way that, well, even me, who doesn't understand any of this stuff, can grasp it. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you all. And thank you all for listening to The Way Home this week and to my wonderful guests. And may you all have a wonderful week that is safe, that's happy, healthy, and full of lots of miracles as well. I'm Laura Smith. See you next time from The Way Home.
Podcasts by Federated Media.